Editor-at-large Chris Cillizza, as we talk about what's really an extraordinary interview that President Trump gave the New York Times. A number of topics that they covered, but one was healthcare, which has been so overshadowed by all of this, all of the Russia investigations, plural. And this was something that the president said about the challenges that he's facing with healthcare. He said, pre-existing conditions are a tough deal because you are basically saying from the moment the insurance, you're 21 years old, you start working and you're paying $12 a year, note that, for insurance, and by the time you're 70, you get a nice plan. Here's something where you walk up and say, I want my insurance. It's a very tough deal, but it is something that we're doing a good job of.
What does that mean?
I don't understand.
All of those are English words that I recognize.
$12, no one's paying $12 a year.
Put together,
right?
It's both sort of out of context, out of touch, and it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you read the excerpts that the New York Times puts out, and I would urge folks to do it, he is all over the place. I mean, he really kind of, one minute he's talking about Russians and their ability to fight in the cold. He's talking about Napoleon, and then literally in the next sentence he says, things are going well, the economy is strong. So
and he's steering it in these different ways.
Steering it is a kind way of saying what he's doing. I think he's just riffing. I mean, I think that's his sort of MO. On healthcare, the thing I was struck by, in addition to the 21-year-olds are paying $12 a year, is the fact that he's so self-conscious and aware. For someone who says he detests the media and it's all fake, he's so aware of what is being written and said about him. He has a quote where he says, "The papers."
Can I read it?
Please,
Here we
yeah.
go. This is the quote. You know, a lot of the papers were saying, actually, these guys couldn't believe it. He's talking about the senators.
Talking about the senators, right?
Who had just been at the White House. These guys couldn't believe it, how much I know about it. I know a lot about health care.
Okay, so what do you see there? The papers are, he cuts himself off because he knows it's talking about what the papers are saying about him isn't good. But then what does he do? I just met with these senators, and they all were amazed at how much I know. Then, boy, do I know a lot about health care. I mean, this is, he's overcompensating. Donald Trump has never been, in his business life and particularly in his political life, he's never been a details guy. He's the face, he's the brand, he's the salesman. He's not the guy who comes in and says, on page 27, that's not
right.
him.
He's not, yeah, and I mean, we know that privately these senators are frustrated that he doesn't know the details of how this
And we've
works.
heard that reporting for months,
That's
that
right.
he's not engaged in the policy details.
He talked so much about Hillary Clinton. He mentioned her almost a dozen times in this interview.
This is all part and parcel, I think, Brianna, of the constant talking about the popular vote versus the electoral vote. Remember, the first 3 or 4 months, there were maps being brought in. He was bringing up at every event he could. The 2016 election for Donald Trump, somewhat understandably, is a touchstone for him that proves everything in his life. Remember, this is a guy who, whether you believe it or not, views himself as someone out on the outside looking in all the time. His father was a developer in Queens, not Manhattan. When he was a developer in Manhattan, he wasn't sort of welcomed into the old money crowd there. He had to make his own golf courses because he wasn't necessarily welcomed into all those golf courses. He comes to Washington in 2011, and Seth Meyers and Barack Obama make fun of him for a full night at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So it was proof positive that he knew better, that all the people who were laughing at him were now the ones who were wrong. So he returns to it over and over and over again because it is so seminal to sort of how he has long viewed the world, and then the affirmation that he was right.
He constantly slams the New York Times, and then he invites their marquee reporters in to interview him.
50-minute interview on the day he's trying to save health care.
It's almost 20 pages,
yeah.
Right? This is long. Does that just reinforce how obsessed he is about the media coverage?
I think it shows that he is practicing a strategy in attacking the media. I don't think all of his supporters are aware of that, but
he loves the media.
Donald
but
Trump consumes more media, whether it's CNN, whether it's the New York Times. He consumes more media than any president before him, and he understands the power that someone like the New York Times has. Remember, in an interview with the New York Times exactly 2 weeks after he won the 2016 election, Brown, he called it a major jewel, a crown jewel in the world when he was interviewing with them. So that's more what he really believes.